Full Employment and Price Stability by Warren Mosler. Foreign Trade. Transactions of real goods and services between those within the geographical confines of the U.S. and anyone outside the U.S. are generally defined as foreign trade. Exports are real goods and services leaving the country, and imports are real goods and services entering the country. By standard definition, exports are a real cost, and imports are a real benefit. Exports can be considered the cost of imports. Financial transactions are accounting information and not considered as imports or exports. The chronic U.S. trade deficit, for example, means the dollar price of imports continually exceeds the dollar price of exports. This puts increasing numbers of dollars in the hands of non-U.S. residents who have decided to hold dollar-denominated financial assets rather than use their dollars to buy U.S. goods. This is an identity for if they did buy U.S. goods, there would not be a trade deficit. As holders of dollar-denominated financial assets, they are net nominal savers, much like any domestic holder of dollar-denominated financial assets. For purposes of this analysis, foreign dollar-denominated financial holdings are considered part of holdings of net financial assets. Currently, most of the world allows currencies to trade freely. Occasionally, the major central banks will intervene in the foreign exchange markets and buy or sell one currency versus another for a variety of reasons and motivations. However, most central banks are not legally bound to guarantee convertibility of their home currency to another currency at predetermined rates. Exceptions include a few currency board systems as Argentina and Hong Kong. Should a foreign holder of dollar-denominated financial assets desire to switch to another currency, he must find in the marketplace another agent who wishes to be his counterparty. If a transaction does occur, the dollar-denominated financial assets will change hands, but not increase or diminish. The exchange rate will likely fluctuate, but the quantity of dollar-denominated financial assets remains unchanged. Dollar holdings of net financial assets is not changed by foreign exchange transactions. They do not involve the Federal Reserve acting for its own account. The desired holdings of net financial assets of the foreign sector is a factor since it is part of the total desired holdings of net financial assets. A declining dollar in the foreign exchange markets becomes indicative, again by definition, of decreasing desired holdings of net financial assets of the foreign sector agents, and vice versa. The number of $12,500 public service employees under the Employer of Last Resort Employment proposal will fluctuate with changes in the desired holdings of net financial assets of the foreign sector as well as the domestic sector. It is total desired holdings of net financial assets that controls the number of these public service workers. Increased government deficits that arise when the pool of $12,500 Employer of Last Resort workers increases always match the desired holdings of net financial assets of the entire non-government sector. The dollar remains defined by the available workers, so changes in the value of the dollar in the foreign exchange markets must be a function of the quality of the Employer of Last Resort labor available for $12,500 and the changing value of the other currency. This understanding allows policymakers the option of taking advantage of the benefits of being a net importer. For example, an increase in net imports that results in the loss of private domestic employment will immediately result in an increase in the number of government $12,500 workers. This increases government spending and the budget deficit, which may result in other industries hiring workers away from the government. If the pool of $12,500 Employer of Last Resort workers is deemed by the electorate to be too large, taxes can be cut or public spending increased until the number drops to the desired level. The public would associate higher trade deficits with an increasing standard of living, lower taxes, and other such benefits. A fixed exchange rate would present problems similar to the gold standard, since the gold standard is, for all practical purposes, a fixed exchange rate system. If the Federal Reserve was committed to convert dollars to other currencies, a larger budget deficit or trade deficit could result in the rapid depletion of the Fed's foreign currency reserves, forcing the suspension of convertibility and a return to a market system.